Like, you know, Murphy's, is it Murphy's Law? Anything bad that can happen will. Why does it seem like at the times in life where you could really use some good news, that's when all the bad news tends to show up? Why is that? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Karma or whatever. I don't know. Uh, George Pickens, ACL done, gone, surgery time. I'd be surprised if we see him at all this coming season. I'd be surprised if we ever see him in a Georgia uniform again, to be honest. This was a three and gone guy from day one. Uh, you know, I don't know. This is, I tell you, you know, Georgia's not the only team to get hit with injuries. It happens to everybody every single year. Look at Alabama last year. You know, Jalen Waddle goes down. Devontae Smith goes off, wins the Heisman. Hey, you know, I don't know that we have any Devontae Smiths or Jalen Waddles waiting in the wings, though. Now, I've been saying, and here's what's weird. I have been, in fact, I don't think there's been anybody harder than me on Georgia's entire passing situation over the last 4 or 5 years. From quarterback play to wide receiver play to the scheme to the types of routes that we ran, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of last season, the last 3 or 4 games, it looked like it was all starting to come together. JT Daniels gets inserted into the starting lineup. Looks good. You guys keep, you know, you guys can cry all you want about JT Daniels. You know, look at what we've had to work with at Georgia at the quarterback position, really since Aaron Murray left. Okay? For a Georgia fan, JT Daniels would be just fine. You know, that looked great. You know, you had George Pickens last year. Karis Jackson had a monster season. Arian Smith came on strong at the end of the year. I think I said Karis Jackson. We had Dominic Blaylock. I mean, just think about it. The end of the 2019 season, 2019, George Pickens and Dominic Blaylock, 2 of the highest rated wide receiver recruits Georgia's had gotten a long time. Both of them looked great all year. Last game of the year in 2019, Dom Blaylock blows his knee out, misses the entire 2020 season. You say, okay, well, we got Karis Jackson, we got George Pickens, we got Marcus Rosemy, we got Arian Smith. Last season, Marcus Rosemy breaks his leg, out for the season. You know, now here we are, spring practice. George Pickens, blown ACL, most likely out for the season in my mind. I don't know. Some people come back quicker than others from these types of things. I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about this one. And like I said, George Pickens is a talented kid. He was likely going to be a 3-and-gone guy. I'd be surprised if he ever plays for Georgia again. If he can't get back this year, he's probably going to take his chances in the NFL. Just my opinion. But man, you know, when it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. Now, we will get Blaylock back. We will get Marcus Rosemy back. You know, we still got Karis Jackson. We still have Arian Smith. Darnell Washington and John Fitzpatrick, is that his name? The 2 tight ends. Is it possible that even without George Pickens, we still might have the best group of wide receivers that we've maybe ever had? You know, AJ Green obviously was amazing, but it didn't have a ton of to work with around him. You had Terrence Edwards back in the day. Of course, Miko Hardman did what he did, and there's been there's been plenty of other ones. You know, I mean, Fred Gibson, Wims, what was his name? Wims back in 2017. Anyway, it's not that we haven't had any good receivers, but when you look at Georgia's receivers top to bottom, and you combine that with the fact that JT Daniels came out and threw for over 300 yards a couple of times there in the last half of the season, which is something we hadn't seen a Georgia quarterback doing what seems like forever. You know, the running back situation is always going to be okay at Georgia. The offensive line is always one of the best around. It was setting up to be a really great season offensively for Georgia. And for an idiot like me, who's been crying and complaining about Georgia's offense for 4 or 5 years, really since Kirby got there, man, I was excited. I'm not going to lie. This was the first offseason where I haven't literally had panic attacks and anxiety issues thinking about Georgia's offense. I mean, I was excited to see this offense. And I still am. I'm not going to get on here with any doom and gloom overall as far as the team goes. Now, I've already seen some Georgia fans saying it doesn't matter. Listen, there's a difference between doom and gloom. The season's over. Oh my God, I don't buy that. I'm not in that camp. But it does matter. You can't lose your best wide receiver, the best wide receiver you've had in probably 15 years, one of the best 3 or 4 wide receivers in all of college football, if you look at scouting profiles and things like that. You can't lose that guy and then say it doesn't matter at all. Of course it matters. Of course it matters. This is terrible. This is terrible. And I'm just speaking purely from a selfish point of view. This is terrible because it does matter. Georgia is a better team with George Pickens than they are without him. That's just facts. That's just facts. Never mind the fact that this is just terrible. I don't like injuries. I don't like it when Jalen Waddle gets injured. I didn't even like it when Tua got injured every other play. Nobody likes injuries, no matter who you're a fan of, no matter what team you pull for, no matter what team you hate. No one wants to see these kids go out here and get hurt. Ever. Least of all in spring practice, though. My God. What is happening? What is happening? You know, I was all set to make a video kind of reviewing the first full week of Georgia's spring practice and, you know, kind of some of the positive news we've heard and some of the questions that I have. And then, damn George Pickens, man. I've said this before. I don't see how anybody can argue the point. It is hard as hell to be a Georgia fan. It's hard. It's hard. Now, would I rather be a Tennessee fan or a South Carolina fan and know every single year that my season is over before it starts and struggle to make bowl games and all that? No, I wouldn't. But it is so frustrating to be winning 10, 11, 12 games a year, making the playoffs or New Year's 6 bowls, making the SEC title game 3 of the last 4 years. It's very frustrating to be that good that many times. And this precedes even Kirby Smart. Mark Richt had 3 teams good enough to win a national title. Couldn't manage to win even one. And Kirby's had a couple of teams good enough to do it. Hasn't managed to win even one. It's very hard to be this close for this long. It does wear on you. I'm not gonna, what do they say? No cap. Is that what are the kids still saying that? You know, my daughter told me something new they're saying on TikTok now. I think they say that's bustin'. But bustin' means it's something good. It used to be, remember back in my day, if something was busted, that was bad. Ooh, like you'd be like, oh my God. You see Tennessee Vols coaching situation? Ooh, busted. I guess now busting is good. So it's hard to be this good for this long. It wears on you, and not even win one national title, man. And I don't know, you know, and you're already typing it. I'm not saying, we were going to win a national title, but now that George Pickens is gone, we're not. First of all, I don't know if we'd win a national title this year or not. I mean, hell, I don't know. I think Georgia's one of the 5 or 6 teams that's has a really good shot. I think Georgia's chances were better yesterday than they are today. Now that we don't have George Pickens for most likely the entire year. And maybe there's a chance he comes back towards the end of the year. I really don't know. These ACLs are funny, especially when you're looking at a kid like George Pickens, who definitely has an NFL future. Is he going to want to risk some kind of quick turnaround and recovery to try to come back at the end of this year? Or is he going to say, you know what? Happens. I'm preparing for the NFL. I don't know. I don't know. Practice. How's practice been? How many times are people going to ask me, what worries you the most about Georgia for 2021, Lou? It's the same answer. The answer's not going to change. The secondary, okay? You can't lose that many corners and act like it doesn't matter. Of course it matters. Of course it matters. Our top 3 corners from last year are gone. Whoever we play at both corner positions this year is going to have either 0 playing experience or a little bit of playing experience. Everybody wants to talk about Keely Ringo, and I'm just as excited as you about Keely Ringo. The guy's played a grand total of 0 snaps in college, okay? He was injured all of last year and didn't play. And according to Kirby Smart himself, he ain't really where he needs to be. You know, injury-wise, he's completely recovered, but he's way behind in terms of game speed, knowing what to do, when to do it, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Kirby talked about this at length a couple of different times here since spring practice has started. The guy's got a ton of talent. Playing DB at the college level is a learned skill, okay? You don't show up in college ready to lock down an Alabama wide receiver, or Justin Ross at Clemson, who we play week 1. You don't show up in college ready to do that. You got to learn how to do it. The way you learn to do it is through practice and games, and he's had none of that, other than the few practices he's had so far in the spring, which, again, Kirby Smart says not where he needs to be. Other corner position, Breeny, is that his name? Amir Speed. It'll be one of those two, maybe a combination of both of them. I don't know. Again, you're talking about guys who have been around for a few years, don't have very many starts, though, don't have a whole lot of experience, though. Some of those corners that'll be starting this year did play in the bowl game and looked pretty good. I'll be the first to admit it. In that Cincinnati game, they looked pretty good, especially in the second half. We completely locked Cincinnati down in the second half of that game, but it's a huge question mark, no doubt about it, and Kirby really hasn't said anything this spring to make me feel any better about it. Now, Kirby is notoriously way too hard on the defense, sometimes for no reason, and way too easy on the offense. I mean, you've seen this a million times in his post-game press conferences, right? Listen, Georgia could lose a game 3-0. You know, give up no touchdowns and give up only a field goal. And the field goal could be off of an offensive turnover in our own red zone or something. The defense comes out, holds them 3 and out. The other team kicks a field goal. They end up winning 3-0. So we could have a game where we lose 3-0. Offense does nothing the entire game. Defense holds them to 3 points, and that's off a turnover. Kirby would come out and say, defense needs to improve, but I thought the offense did some good things out there today. I don't know why he's that way, but he just is. So maybe that's his reverse psychology deal. I don't know. Maybe that's what he's doing with the Kelee Ringo thing. And Kelee Ringo really does look like a stud. I don't know, because people have been drooling over this guy. Kelee Ringo is probably the player, like when I do the call-in shows or read my comment section, Kelee Ringo is probably the guy on Georgia's roster who's never played that people are the most excited about. I hear about it all the time. I try not to go all in on some of these kids until I see them do something. God knows we need a corner to stand out, though. So that's still my concern. Haven't seen anything in spring yet to ease those concerns. I don't know. We'll see. I'll be watching the spring game just like you will here a few weeks down the road. April 17th, I think, Georgia spring game. The offense is going to eat that defense alive. It should anyway. In a spring game where you can't hit the QB, so that negates our pass rush really in a spring game. If our offense doesn't come out and absolutely light up that defense in the spring game, oh boy, we got some serious issues. If JT Daniels and a whole host of returning wide receivers, even though now no George Pickens, can't light up that secondary who's never played before in a spring game where you're not allowed to touch the QB, I'd be shocked. I expect the offense to light it up in G-Day. And Kirby said in a couple of interviews he's given so far during spring practice that the offense is looking really good, miles ahead of the defense, lighting them up, that kind of thing. That doesn't surprise me at all. Adam Anderson. Man, I've been excited about Adam Anderson for this year. I hated that we lost all those outside pass rushers from last year, Olajari and all those guys. But the positive to that is now we don't really have 4 or 5 pass rushers that we can rotate in and out of the game for no reason. Boy, that drove me up the wall. Nolan Smith's a 10-sack-a-year guy. Azeez Olajari is probably a 12 or 14-sack-a-year guy. They're lucky to get half of that. Why? They play one play, and then they got to go off. And it's not their fault. The coach rotates these people. It's the weirdest thing, this rotation he has. I don't know that we're going to be able to do that this year. At least that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, Adam Anderson could really break out this year. Well, here goes Kirby again. Got to be the smartest guy in the room all the time. Try to outthink the room. This Kirby Smart, he's over here playing like four-dimensional Cambodian Chinese checkers. He moves Adam Anderson, our best pass rusher, outside linebacker, to the star nickel position. And then he goes on this whole thing where he tries to convince people that in his defense, the star nickel really ain't no different than an outside linebacker. Okay, well, it is different, Kirby, or else you would just have 3 outside linebackers, okay? So it is different. I know Mark Webb played that star nickel position last year. How'd that work out? Not too great, in my opinion. And Adam Anderson is so much bigger than him. Mark Webb was, 6'1", 220? Adam Anderson is, 6'4", 6'5", 240, 250, somewhere in that range. I don't know how this is going to work out. And I guess I get trying to find some experience somewhere to put in that secondary. I don't know that, I don't understand taking our best pass rusher and putting him back there, though, but what do I know? And as far as the cornerback position goes, of course, I talked about Keely Ringo, the golden child, and you got Breeny and Speed. Each have a little bit of experience, maybe not the upside that somebody like Keely Ringo has, but they've got some experience at least. There's another one we haven't mentioned yet. In fact, he might be the highest rated. Well, I guess Keely Ringo's the highest rated, but this guy's going to be the second highest rated corner on our team if this is what really ends up happening. Kirby Smart has taken our #1 running back recruit from the 21 recruiting class, Lavassier Carroll, from IMG Academy, which all IMG Academy does is put players in D1. It's a football factory. It's not even a real school, you know. IMG Academy goes and plucks kids from all over the country, brings them down to IMG Academy, and they basically eat, sleep, and breathe football for the entirety of their high school career. And then every once in a while, they take a math test. Running back for IMG Academy. Yes, he did play defensive back there for one season in 10th grade. And then IMG Academy looked around and went, you know what? This ain't working out. I think running back's a better position for him. Moved him to running back. How'd that work out? Well, it worked out so well. He was the 5th rated running back in America in the 21 recruiting class. He makes a wise decision and comes to Georgia. Why? Because all we do is put NFL running backs into the NFL. That's why. He shows up on campus early to get a jump start. Smart man. Kirby looks around and goes, Lavassier Carroll, 4th, 5th rated running back in the 21 class. The next great ball carrier here at UGA. Go over there and play cornerback. Yes, we have moved Lavassier Carroll to cornerback. I don't know if this is a permanent thing. I don't know if this is a let's see how this works thing. I don't know if this is a, well, we've got 5 running backs and we don't have enough DBs to run practices or to run these scrimmages, so let's put Lavassier Carroll over there. I don't know. I get it that sometimes people play 2 positions in high school. I don't consider Lavassier Carroll a 2-position player in high school. Playing DB for 1 year in 10th grade before going full-time as running back is not playing both sides of the ball. He's also not one of these guys that's classified as a quote-unquote athlete. You know, you see this a lot of times too. A high school team will take their best player, put him at quarterback sometimes, wide receiver sometimes, running back sometimes, safety sometimes, defensive back sometimes, kick returner sometimes, punt returner sometimes. And the guy's just amazing no matter where you put him. And colleges look at that and go, I don't know what we'll do with him, but we'll do something. And they go out and get him. Miko Hardman was a guy like that for Georgia. They did try him at DB before settling on sort of a slot receiver position for him. And there's some other examples at Georgia too. Richard Samuel, a while ago, 10, 15 years ago, recruited as a running back, ended up playing linebacker, I believe it was. And there's been some other players that changed positions. Don't know that I've ever seen a running back change to corner, though. We're going to try it out. Now, he's got good size for a corner. You know, he's like 6'1", 200-ish pounds. I don't know wingspan and things like that. But again, this isn't my opinion. This is the opinion of almost every single professional football coach or scout or whatever that I've ever heard talk about this. They say the hardest position to transition from high school to college is quarterback. The speed is so much, everyone's so much faster. The windows to throw the ball are so much tighter. The defenses you're seeing are so much more complicated. The playbooks are so much bigger than what you do in high school. Yeah, on and on and on. All the stuff you have to have in your head as a QB. The hardest position to transition high school to college, quarterback. The second hardest, and I hear this all the time, the second hardest, corner. Corner. Very few high schools, even the elite high schools, teach true corner fundamentals. You're usually taking a basketball-ish looking guy, right? 6'2", 6'1", 6'2" guy that's tall, fast, and lanky, and you're putting him at corner and telling him to cover wide receivers. That's usually what's happening. Most corners show up in college, they ain't ready to play. There's not. Even the highest rated corners. Go back and look at the highest rated corners every single year and find some of them that were amazing as a freshman. You don't find very many. You probably find more successful freshman quarterbacks even than you do corners. Tyson Campbell played as a freshman. He was not great. In my opinion, he wasn't even great by the time he was a junior. Now, the guy at Alabama, Surtain, a little bit better. LSU's had a few that were ready to go when they got there. It's hard to find a lot, though. But let's take Lavassier Carroll and put him at corner. I don't know. So My overall impressions of what I've seen in the first week of spring practice at Georgia so far is, oh shit, George Pickens. That's number one. And number two, haven't seen anything to ease my concerns about the defensive back situation at Georgia. And number three, I'm really confused about some of these position changes like Adam Anderson and Lavassier Carroll. No, I'm not the coach of Georgia. No, this guy thinks he knows better than Kirby Smart. No, as fans, we're entitled to question things as fans. We're entitled to question decisions the coaches make. We're entitled to question play calls. We're entitled to question depth chart, who should be playing there, blah, blah, blah. I mean, guy, the backup quarterback's been the most popular player on a team for 100 years for a reason. So we're entitled to do those things. No, I'm not Kirby Smart. No, I don't think I know better than Kirby Smart. This is just a little bit unusual to me. Anyway, that's enough pacing and backing around for no reason. I don't know. Better get that situation figured out though. September 4th, looming large. Georgia got a big game to kick things off. Neutral site game in Charlotte, probably. Chance that game might be moved if Charlotte, depending on what Charlotte decides to do attendance-wise, could be moved to Atlanta maybe. I don't know. We'll see. That doesn't matter. I'm beating them either way. Gators. C- team.